Thank you, Klaus, and thank you for the invitation to speak. I want to start off with, Klaus invited me to talk about where we started, where we've got to, and where we might be going. So I've structured it that way. So I start now. How do I get this thing to work? That one. The original idea in 2000, when DPU was founded, Lars Henrik Schmidt's idea of the university was to have 4 different approaches to education. And it was a really original idea to have anthropology as one of those 4 quadrants. Lars Henrik Schmidt was very proud of having educational anthropology, although he always said to me, not that we know what it is. But his depiction of anthropology, educational anthropology, in this diagram of his is a good start. It captures the idea of ethnography as a dynamic, or studying dynamic processes. In 2000, education was not recognized as a subfield of anthropology. There was medical anthropology, development anthropology, you name it, anthropology, but not educational anthropology. In America, the American Anthropological Association had set up a Council of Educational Anthropology in the 1960s, and they had a journal, Anthropology and Education Quarterly. And I'm sure my colleague from America will disagree with me, but they focused mainly on why racialized minorities were not doing well in schools and community colleges. It was quite a narrow focus. Elsewhere in the world, there was a scatter of us individuals studying different aspects of education, and we were very much kind of lost sheep. So when this Department of Educational Anthropology was formed, it was the only one in the world, and I think it still would be. So when we started, there was also a scatter of people joining that department. We came from many, many different disciplines, and not many from anthropology itself. And there was no pre-existing or stable definition of educational anthropology that we could kind of take off a shelf and stick on our heads and wear as a hat. Nothing would fit the department. We've had to form that subdiscipline ourselves, and that's really what I want to talk about today. That one. So how have we shaped educational anthropology? And I've put this into 5 aspects. First of all, we talk about pædagogisk instead of education. And I think the move from the English word to the Danish word, or the Scandinavian term, is a really important and fruitful move. So we think about, first of all, people's engagement in their formation as citizens, workers, children, parents, students, patients, professionals, etc. And they do that in a wide range of settings: civil society, industrial and public organizations, families, educational institutions, hospitals, etc. So we're taking a very broad notion of the formation of the person and the settings in which that happens. Second, anthropology is always known for ethnography, sticking our noses in detail to some very small place. And that's true, and that's one of our strengths. We study the detailed interactions in small sites. But we lift our noses up, and we're also looking at how those interactions are shaped by, and themselves shape, institutional arrangements and broader social systems and forms of governance. So we've, if you like, a 3-tier process of very detailed interactions, the institutions in which they're happening, and the broader systems of governance, power, and culture that shape them. The third thing is, within those interactions, there are many different people and organizations, all with different ideas, values, and often keep competing rationalities. So we look at how these are contested, how do people navigate them, and how do they make sense of their world. So we've moved a long way from the old idea of culture as a static thing that everybody belonged to. Now it's a contested concept and a space where negotiation is happening. The fourth dimension is, in addition to Lars Henrik Schmidt's definition of us as a history of changes in the present, I would add we ask the question, what is the present producing? In other words, we are not studying a static situation. These interactions we're studying are part of processes of change or inertia in fast-changing world, with people contesting or resisting key concepts, or proposing alternative ideas, or resisting things. So outcomes are always unpredictable. We ask then, in the longer term, how do certain meanings of key concepts become dominant, institutionalized, and sometimes hegemonic over time? And then, of course, they're disputed again, and the process starts again. So the fifth process then is, we're often, and especially when you're studying your own society in Denmark or England or wherever you come from, how do you then create enough distance to look critically at the things that are part of your taken for granted world? Our adage is, how do we treat the familiar as strange? And we have two ways of doing that. One, we reflexively examine our own concepts, models, and methods of knowledge creation. And secondly, we develop a speculative eye for ethnographic analogies or comparisons from anywhere else in the world to discern the contents of the goldfish bowl in which we ourselves are also swimming. And so with that kind of approach, my colleagues and I have been working on a whole range of different topics, but with this kind of approach to it. So we have examples here of studies of organizational management, the health sector, municipalities, digital communications, language learning and socialization, families, parenthood, rural city imbalances, integration of minorities, student activism for social justice, talent development in sport, inclusion, exclusion, internationalization, and the international classroom. To just give you a flavor of the range of things that we work on. But the thing that holds us together is that way of looking at the world and the way of studying the world that I've just described. I knew I would be towards the end of this process, so I'm keeping my talk short so you don't all fall off your chairs. Where are we going next? Well, what I'm trying to argue to you is that in 25 years, collectively, the group of anthropologists here, or the pedagogical anthropologists, have developed a distinctive approach to educational anthropology that locates subtle, everyday negotiations over pedagogic concepts, values, and practices in wider cultural and political processes, drawing on comparative insights across a range of issues in Denmark and internationally. So, for example, I learn about university governance from the guy who's studying sports science. So that interaction is not just internationally, but across the topics we're studying in Denmark. And currently, we're using this approach to engage with fast emerging changes in Danish education and society. From Gen AI to digitalization, changes in communication, sustainability, democracy, regional and social inequalities, demographic changes, just to give you a flavor. And we're doing that through collaboration with other disciplines and in a broader international perspective. So keeping our eye on the future, what we're trying to achieve, and I love this little guy, he's got his nose in a book, not looking where he's going, but he's on a roller trolley. So I just liked it. Our aim is then to maintain our internationally recognised position as the flagship for the international development of educational anthropology. We're still the only substantial group of educational anthropologists in the world, and we're now known for having this very distinctive approach to educational anthropology. So we attract a lot of research partnerships, co-authorships. My colleagues keep surprising me where they've been to give keynotes because we're under demand around the world. We have a lot of visitors who want to work with us. And colleagues are also helping to shape the development of the subdiscipline of educational anthropology in the European Association of Social Anthropologists and the International IUAES, International Union of Anthropological and Educational Sciences. Yeah. So we really are now seen as the site for educational anthropology in the world. Klaus mentioned the ups and downs of internationalization that DPU and AU have been through. And I think this makes us what in commercial world you would call a unique selling point for Aarhus University. So one of the things we would like to see in the future is that unique selling point being used. And there is great potential for now is it the re-internationalization of Danish higher education, or is it the de-internationalization of Danish education? How many ups and downs have we been through? But in this new phase where we're going into a re-internationalization of Danish higher education, this could really be an opportunity for us to develop and to help AU be a magnet for international students and researchers. But to do that, we need to have the right conditions and organisational support to keep thriving through our daily interactions. Now we're a corridor in a larger department. We need to really have a way of, in the new move, being together and keep what I call foully fellowscape. I've never, in my vast career of different universities, experienced such critical encouragement and friendship amongst a set of colleagues, which is not only great fun, but it's highly productive. Thank you.